Me too.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. I am Dee, and today my beautiful guest is Sam. And Sam, I'm so excited to have you here. We had such an amazing um, pre-chat. I actually was looking back on my notes and I actually wrote wow beside the little note section. It was such an impactful conversation. So I'm really excited that you're here and you're going to tell everybody about what you do and how you interact with this beautiful thing we call life.
I'm a Canadian living in Cambodia. I left Canada in 2016 to find myself and my purpose and, answer all the big why, what, all the W questions. And Let's see, I fell in love with helping women initially, like in through childbirth and postpartum, and that was like my calling, or so I thought. And then I got pregnant on purpose, had my daughter, and then I just completely had a factory reset in my brain, and I was like, I don't know who I am again. And uh, yeah, now I'm really passionate about helping people with borderline personality disorder, just finding themselves and their voice, and just finding their identities. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Yay.
Wow. Yeah. Yay. For sure. That's a lot. And you kind of jumped from like your one life and then now you didn't know who you were. So how did you find out who you are? Because I know that's a big question for a lot of us in this life is who are we? Why are we here? What's our purpose? What the fuck does this life even mean? What is it all? So how did you get to that place where you were able to, I don't like to say discover, but rediscover who you actually are?
Hmm. Thank you for asking that question. I think it's super important because, yeah, like you said, a lot of people struggle with this. So initially, I found myself through travel. I thought I had some ideas of who I wanted to be, but I think for me, the biggest and most powerful shift happened when I removed myself from popular media. I wasn't watching movies, I wasn't watching the news, I wasn't watching anything like that, and that just really gave me the space and the silence to kind of discover, okay, like, okay, maybe I am interested in this. And also, I didn't have my friends and family who were close to me before in my ear telling me like, well, you should do this or you should do that. I just really had my own voice to hear. So that was really powerful. And then when I had my daughter and I felt like I kind of lost everything. Honestly, just kind of experimenting with spirituality and like what's tarot and what's witchcraft, and like just exploring my interests in a place where I didn't feel pressure to like go back to work right away. And just, yeah, I'm so grateful for that ability. And yeah, just experimentation really is how I got to where I'm at right now,
Yeah. So you
and
just became
trusting the
very,
divine.
oh, trusting is huge. And you
Yes.
became very curious and you're exploring. And one of the things I'd like to go back to that you said that I find so fascinating because we like are so programmed to do this, and that's giving so much space to other people's voices in our heads. We let other people drown us out to the point of almost becoming extinct in ourselves. So tell me more about that. I would love for you to not just me, but share with our audience about that.
Yeah, so for me, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder in my early 20s. So I really didn't have a solid sense of self, and I just kind of was like this chameleon where I was like a different person with different people, and just always kind of, it's not that I was like desperate to fit in, but I was kind of desperate to fit in, for lack of better terms. And yeah, I got that space through travel. I was in places where a lot of people, I didn't speak the local language most places I went to. So I just had no choice but to just kind of hear my own voice, because there was really not a lot of other voices that I could understand.
Wow, what did that feel like for you? Did you feel like a stranger in your own body listening to your own voice?
That's a good question. You know what? I want to say no, because I just hmm just over time, I kind of grew to accept that that was actually my voice. Maybe a bit at first, but slowly, as time went on, I just knew like, okay, this is me. Um, and just yeah, that's a really good question. I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't know.
Made you go deep right there on how you
Yeah.
like, didn't
Oh.
I? It's so interesting, though, how we use things to drown out our own voice. Like you said, you
Yes.
detached from listening to news and watching movies and all this because we do consume at an alarming rate so many things that are not ourselves, and we're taking this stuff in, and we're it's coming from everywhere. It's coming from
Yes.
literally everywhere. I mean, we can't get away from it unless we make a mindful effort to get away from it, and then that
Mhm.
allows us the quiet space to discover our own voices. And let me just ask you this because I'm so curious. Were
Yeah.
you surprised at what your voice had to say to you when you were finally able to hear it? Like, I'm getting emotional about even asking
Oh.
this.
You know what? I want to say, yeah, I was a little bit surprised because I didn't really know who I was. So I just, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, but I was surprised, but I was also sure, if that makes sense. I wasn't like, oh, are you sure about that? Like, I was just like, okay. And that's kind of where I started to trust the divine guidance that I was receiving more and more because I just felt that sureness. And it wasn't a surprise. Like I said, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, this resonates. This makes sense. Um, so yeah, it was lovely, honestly, really
Yeah.
lovely. And one thing as well that really helped me more recently is human design. I was always kind of into astrology, but I didn't know that much about it. And something about human design really like hit home for me, and I really felt at home with this information. And that also really gave me a it was very empowering because I thought, you know what, like, okay, yeah, like this is me. This makes sense. And it really helped me kind of step more into my role in this life. So that as well has been very helpful.
That's pretty amazing. And so, what do you feel like your role is in this life?
Yeah, so I would say for me, I'm a guide. I'm very much like I like to help people get from point A to point B. In traditional human design, I'm a projector, which is like the manager, the leader, the person who's going to get you there. Um, I think that I have fairly good insight that most people do not. Um, but my struggle is I love to just tell people, I'm like, look what I found out about you. And they're like, whoa, you I didn't ask you that. So that's kind of my like my purpose, but also my lesson is like I've got this great insight and I can help a lot of people, but I have to rein it in and not just share everything to everyone because most people aren't ready for that, and I have that's yeah, it's a lesson I'm learning as I go on.
Yeah, I'm laughing over here because I'm like, that is so me. Like, I've had to do that same thing too, because I'm like, I know all this stuff and it helped me so much. So here, take all of these things
Yes.
and know them now so that you can do the same thing I did. And you're right. So many people are not ready and it's so overwhelming for them. And
Yes.
they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. What does that even mean? Why are you using words that sound crazy to me right now?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I found, and I'm actually going to write a blog about this, is when we come into this like coaching, teaching, guide, mentorship kind of space where we're leading and guiding other people, where we are stepping into the light, we learn all of these different ways to say things. And it's like, it sounds so foreign to the layperson. Like they are just like, I don't even, what is mindfulness? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where when we're used to saying it, and we're like, oh, just be mindful. And it's just such an easy way of saying things. And it's just so funny to me that we
I know
just kind of,
exactly what you mean. It's yeah, like for I know exactly what you mean. When you're in the spirituality space, it's like its own language, and then you try to talk to regular people and they're like, wait, what? What did you just say? 5D? What's a 5D? And you're like, oh, you just, 5D. And they're like, no, I don't know. And you're like, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, never
Yeah.
mind. But wait, let's come back. Let's talk about it more because you
Yeah.
want to share it. And it is, and the cool thing is that we can plant seeds even if we're
Yes.
not in this full on um, kind of teacher student relationship. And I say that and I know you know what I mean, but for everyone else out there, I want to say that a beautiful spiritual teacher is always also a student, always a student,
Yes.
because we know that we do not know everything, and we're constantly
Hmm.
learning. It's a constantly growing, evolving thing, this relationship and this journey that we're on.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I actually was speaking with a friend a little while ago about something similar, and she said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, whoa, Trish, like, yes, like I
Yes,
never thought of it that way, but
it's so true. And I've been feeling that so much here recently and being around people that stretch you in the biggest ways, and it's
hmm
such a blessing to put yourself in that space and be open to the guidance and the insight and the different perspectives. You know,
hmm
I
hmm
get really excited when someone shows me a new perspective. I'm like, oh, let me delve into that. And then, during the conversation is always cool, but then later on, when I'm by myself and I'm thinking about that idea and how it applies to my life and exploring it in a deeper way, when the
hmm
conversation is ended, it's it's fascinating to me. Like I'm like a little kid. Like just give me more of that. Let me see and explore and have fun with it.
I'm right there with you. And yeah, that's important is having endless curiosity and being curious as like a child. I feel like that's the key to life because as soon as you think you know everything, well, first of all, you know nothing, but as soon as you think you know everything, that you're shutting yourself off to what could be. And that's I don't want to say that's a life ender because that's not that, but it's yeah, you're severely limiting yourself by not being curious about the world because there's so much more to know always.
Yeah, it's just a constant expansion. That's the way it feels to me.
Yes.
Like you look at an edge and then the edge just dissolves. It's like not even there anymore. And it's so
Yes.
there's like more, more, more. It's just, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. I find it so fascinating. We talked
Same.
about so many things, and one of the things that you mentioned to me is first of all, you talk about detox methods. So I'd like for you to delve into that a little bit. And then you also mentioned astrocartography, and you've told me
Yeah.
about that as something I could personally look into, which I haven't had time to do yet. But I would love for you to talk about those two things if you would like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for detox, I use detox as a way to not just talk about physical detox, but also spiritual and mental detox. We were talking about earlier about how did I get to the point where I could hear my own voice, and it's because I detoxed myself spiritually and mentally from the Western world and the Western ways and the 5,000 advertisements a day or whatever the silly number is that we Western people are exposed to. Um, so just yeah, I think it's super powerful to recognize where you're being quote programmed. So a lot of people don't like to hear that they're programmed, but I mean, real talk, we are, whether we want to be or not, and it's can be good or could be, not so good. Um, but it's happening, and to be able to recognize that and detox from what is not helpful to us is, in my opinion, extremely necessary because it brings more self-awareness. And the more self-aware we are, the better people we can become. So, a lot of people say like I'm on a detox and they're taking some kind of tea or something, which is great, but it's so much deeper than that. Um, I mean, we could heavy metal detox and all these other things and parasite cleanse and all this other stuff, but this is just the body level. And I mean, mind, body, and spirit are all connected as well. So I mean, if you're doing a body detox, you might as well do the rest of it as well, right? So um I like to think that detox is a whole thing, a mind, body, spirit connection thing.
Yeah, I agree with you because it does all go together. It does. I mean, it's all connected. You know, about the song, the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone or whatever, however it goes.
Yes.
It's like that. And it's the cosmic web, right? Like you hear so many scientists, like Greg Braden talks about the field a lot. And he said, people think that the field is out there and it's actually right here, it's right here.
Yes.
We are in it. We are it, and that's what
Yes.
a lot of people they can't wrap their head around that concept that we're all connected in that way.
Mhm.
And, recently I've been able to see the cosmic web, what I call the cosmic web and cosmic energy web. And I actually got online and looked it up the other day, and NASA actually has a little video up that shows some of the web. And I was like, that it's not exactly how I see it, but it's so amazing to see that there's actually documented, you know, videos of what it looks like out there. I don't know if it's like AI generated or whatever, but and that's what I'm saying. It's not exactly what I see, but everyone's perspective is different, which is also another thing. I mean, we talked about perspective a minute ago, but so we need to be mindful to include all of the things that you talked about. And it, I mean, yeah, like don't ignore all of the pieces. Like if one puzzle piece is missing when you finish a puzzle, doesn't like just drive you bananas. Like where is
Yes.
the missing piece? Ah, well,
Yes.
it's all connected. So leaving out one piece is going to affect the whole picture.
Definitely, definitely. And it's like you can say like, "Oh, I have back pain," and then you go to the doctor and they give you some painkillers or something like that. But a lot of people maybe don't know that emotions are stored in the body in certain places. So it would be better off to see like, okay, what emotions am I holding in my body, and like what emotions typically are stored in the back, and just having this information. And I'm not saying now everyone has to go do yoga and whatever, but some kind of movement practice, and just this connection of just it's all connected. It's a web of life, like you said, and to do one thing and not the rest is just doing a disservice. And it's we're not getting to the root of things in the
Yeah.
West. So,
Yeah. I used to be a nurse and I so
oh wow.
resonated with you telling about the just giving the painkillers because that's the way I call it throwing meds at symptoms. Oh, your back hurts?
Yeah.
Here's a pill. Oh, you have high blood pressure? Here's a pill. Let's not get
Mhm.
to the root of what's causing it because if we eliminate the cause, the root cause, or as someone else I interviewed said, the seed cause, then
Mm,
you eliminate the symptom. Like
yeah.
it automatically goes away on its own because you've treated the or addressed the actual cause of the issue. So it's just, I mean, it seems so simple, doesn't it, to me?
I mean, yeah, for me, it's like, it's not rocket science, guys. Like we just figure out what the problem is, and it don't just put a band-aid on it. That's one thing that when I was younger, I was given a lot of um, pharmaceutical drugs. Like I was on antidepressants, I was on birth control, I was on water pills, I was on all of these other things. And, as I grew into an adult, I'm like, but what is all of this stuff? And it's just like nobody addressed the fact that like I had a really poor diet. Like it's just like really like simple for me to understand now, but I wasn't drinking water. I had a poor diet. I didn't really exercise. All these problems happened. Oh my gosh, let's put her on all these things. She's depressed. It's just crazy now for me to think about that that was my experience and that's how I was living my life. And yet that is how so many people in this life today are just living from symptom to symptom. And I actually posted this little comic that I found about like the cycle of medication, where it was like the girl had a cough, so they gave her amoxicillin, but then amoxicillin gave her a yeast infection, so they gave her diflucan, and then diflucan gave her something, so they put her on antidepressants, and then one of the symptoms was giving her a cough, so she had to go back on amoxicillin. Like it was like this, just the cycle, and I'm like, and the comic was so old, like it wasn't even like, oh, this is a 2025 comic. It was so old, and yet like this, it literally continues to this day with people that I know, and not one of them is like, hey, this is messed up. Like, I'm like, this is why I live in Cambodia, because like I can't like function with the lack of logic sometimes that people have. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude, but it's just kind of one of those things where I was like, you know what? Like, I think I have to remove myself from this situation for a while, because I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall, like it's
Yeah.
very strange.
Well, it's so easy, right? So, like, it's
Hmm.
so easy to just do that thing instead of actually have to go inside yourself and change your beliefs, which we
Yes.
don't even understand or believe that we're able to change. I know when I first started getting into this work, was listening to Bob Proctor about changing your paradigm. And I was like,
Mm,
what the hell is a paradigm? Like, I don't even know what that
mm,
means. And it's just a collection of beliefs. And I was like, I didn't even know I could do that. Like, I didn't even know I could
yeah.
change my beliefs about something. I just thought I had to keep on believing all the stuff that I believed since I was a kid, you know?
Mm,
And it literally felt like a wrestling match to me because
hmm.
I had had those beliefs for so long and didn't even understand that I could change and shift those things. And it was crazy. So it would have been easier for me just to continue on with that and not have to really do anything other than just, you know, whatever. At that point I
Yeah.
was getting more into natural stuff, so I wasn't on, any medications, but I easily could have been. I easily
Hmm.
could have been, but I'd already taken that one step to get myself out of the medical Western way of doing that particular thing. So I was willing to do the work, but it's so much easier, I mean, it's not because the fallout is
Right.
greater, but
Mm,
in the initial piece, the beginning of doing the work, it's a lot. I mean, it was a lot for me.
yeah.
And, especially if you don't have someone to guide you through it, because I didn't, I wasn't able to afford that kind of, you know, coaching or anything like that to help me with it. So it was all,
Hmm.
YouTube videos and just doing it on my own. And thankfully I'm the type of person that I am and I was able to do it. But holy cow, in the beginning it was like, God, I wish I just had someone to talk to about what the hell is happening right now, you
Yeah,
know?
it's very lonely. It's very lonely because, like you said, and yeah, just trying to talk to people about it, and, just kind of met with the blank, like, what?
Yeah.
Like it was, yeah, I completely resonate with that as well, because yeah, I just, even still to this day, even people in my own family, I try to talk to them about, like, you don't really have to be on all that medication. It's, you hold the power. Like, there's no reason for you to think that you're not a powerful being that can like change all of this if you want to. But it's just so foreign and so what's the word I'm looking for, so confusing probably for them, because they're like, what do you need power? Like, I'm a victim, hello.
But they don't like
Me.
to list themselves as a victim either. So it's like, they don't realize that that's actually, you know, in a lot of ways exactly what they are because they're
Yeah.
allowing, and I say that in a way, and it has such a negative connotation, but it's just that they're allowing things to happen. And that is what
Yes.
that means, actually. It's not that they're playing victim. It's just that they're
Hmm.
continuing to allow all of these things to happen instead of choosing to change them. and it's like the diet thing. It's such a
Yes.
simple thing, right? And I'm actually, like, I haven't shared this. This will be the first time I've actually shared this on a video, but I'm actually at a period of my life of big, huge transition right now. So I find myself working at Walmart as a personal shopper. And we go and do all of these shoppings for people who place these orders. And like some of their choices are mind boggling to me. Like,
Mm,
and it's the way things are packaged and sold now. Like they're colorful and we make it like, we have all these fancy jingles that go with them if you're still listening to
mhm,
TV and all the commercials and all of that that make things look like they're so fun and they're happening and all of this stuff.
mhm.
And it's just crap, toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Like this one
Yeah.
person, I just filled their crate up because we have these big blue crates, and I filled their crate up with Red Bull and Cheetos.
Oh God.
And it's like all literally all that was in there was different kinds of Red Bull and different kinds of Cheetos,
Oh,
And I was like, that's insane. And then someone else would have like Dr. Pepper and all of these like carbonated beverages, but then wanted organic bananas. And it's like,
oh, I mean, okay, but
like it's just mind-boggling. So I feel like that's part of the issue too, is that it's the packaging and the promotion of these things, and it makes me so much more aware of how things have shifted in my own life. And I'm like, man, my kids are grown, right? My kids are in their mid
Mhm.
30s now, and which is mind-boggling on its own. Like, how did I get old enough to have kids that age? That's insane. But I think if I was raising them now, how
Mhm.
different their lives would be as a child,
Mhm.
knowing what I know now, knowing the mindful practices, the different diet, the getting out more in nature. I would have homeschooled my kids. There is no
Mhm.
way I would have put my kids in a public school, knowing the things that I know now, especially with the
Mhm.
changes that have come in the society. And I understand not everyone is able to do that, but man, I would have found a way. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Knowing what I know
Yeah.
now, I would have found a way. So it's these basic things that we can do that shift things so exponentially. So I appreciate you, and I'm so
Mhm.
grateful you for bringing these things to the table to talk about today, because I feel like they're very pivotal.
Yay. Well, yeah, I'm happy to do it and always happy to speak with like-minded people because I mean, yeah, like I said, sometimes it feels a little lonely when I'm speaking with Western people. I mean, not that everyone here in Cambodia is so like switched on to spirituality because they're not. And I don't speak the local language close to well enough to have a conversation like this. But I'm always very excited to meet spiritual people as well that share the same values as me because um, sometimes it feels like we're not there, but then I know that we're there. I can feel that, and I always get really excited because I follow this lady named Diana Cooper, and she's like an older British lady who's like very posh, and she's like, the spiritual update is 59% of the planet is shifting into 5D consciousness. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yay.
because yeah, I'm like, yeah, look at us go. Because, like obviously I don't pay attention to the news here or there or anywhere really, but um if I were to have paid it or were to pay attention to it, I don't suspect that anybody's saying stuff like that. It's like very like dismal, dark, like
Yes.
they're fighting, they're, oh, these guys, like because I mean, it's all there to distract. And it's not really super distracting to hear that a bunch of us are like waking up and like ready to change the world. That's empowering. And of course, that's not the message that the mass media wants to put out there. So just know, people who are listening, the spiritual people are waking up and we're coming. We're coming to change the world.
We are changing the world currently. We are already here. And
Yes.
that's the beautiful
Yes.
thing, is that we are here, and the ripple effects are just, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. I see it, I feel it. I mean, it is happening, and it is so beautiful to me. And I'm so freaking excited about it. I really am. And, I've been called to step more into the light here recently. And I just feel like that's the ticket, right? That's the ticket that we people who are in this space stand up and freaking get a box and stand on the box or whatever we got to do to get ourselves seen. You know what I mean? So that we can share this message because it is so important, especially right now, because we are shifting. I mean, there's no
Hmm.
doubt about it. The old
Hmm.
paradigm is in full on crumble tower mode right now, and it is coming down, whether people like it or they want to resist it or whether they're accepting of it. Either way, it is happening, and
Hmm.
to me, it
Hmm.
is really exciting.
Yes, I completely agree. I just I feel it as well. And I just like I see on YouTube like the people who are talking about spiritual stuff are getting like 200,000 views in like 24 hours. And I'm like, yeah, like yes, that's awesome. I just I love seeing stuff like that because yeah, like it's very comforting to know that the change is not only coming, but it's here, like you said. And yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I have a friend who is, like you mentioned earlier, that it gets kind of lonely sometimes. And one of his new aligned things is he's going to be starting a program for people like us so that we don't feel so alone, that we can get together and learn how to support each other and get our messages out there even more. So I'm really super excited about that. And I'll keep you updated on that. But I'm throwing that out there. His
Yes.
name is James, and y'all just be, it's coming. That is coming.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm
I love
excited for
that.
that.
I'm excited too because you know what? It's such an interesting time as well because a lot of people, they step into this like spiritual side of themselves, but they almost go like uh the dark side, if that makes any sense. Like they go into like it all has to be love and light, like and that's also very toxic. And it's interesting to see that, some people who are masquerading as like spiritual and in touch are actually manipulative
Oh
or
yeah.
all of these things. So I think there has to be some kind of, I don't want to say literacy because I mean it's kind of literacy in that you just because you're a spiritual doesn't mean you're a good person, so to speak, or your
Yeah.
actions are
Oh.
quote pure. um
Oh, that
Sometimes it has to
resonates
be
so
said.
deeply with me
Yeah.
right now because I've seen some things, girl, let me tell you, but
Yeah.
it is true. It's so true. And it is unfortunately when something can be a very lucrative business, you have this issue. No matter what
Yes.
the business is, it can look really pretty and it can be packaged so beautifully and not be aligned whatsoever,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
some people are really, really good at selling. And some people feel like they need that kind of shiny, polished, very uh, professional kind of, you know,
Hmm.
persona. And that's great, because there are some people who are out there that are doing it in the aligned way that are very professional because that's just their nature. They like that very polished look. And like clearly I am not that girl. I am the no
You're
makeup
real.
haircut hippie, just that's the way it is for me, and I'll never be that spit shine polished person. But being very mindful, because I think it's a great point that you brought up. We have to be very mindful and see what resonates. Don't jump right into it just because it looks pretty. Like explore it,
Yes.
look at different things. And if you feel at all in any moment that, ooh, that didn't feel real good, then listen to that. I like trust that.
Yes. Yes, 100%. I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, more important than like what did they say? It's how did they make you feel? Because I mean, I've been studying online marketing and social media marketing and and there's a lot of trickster stuff going on. I've studied it. There's, something that people may not know about is something called pain point marketing, where
Mhm.
you speak to your niche, but then you kind of poke at their soft spots, so to speak. And that's a way to get people more interested in what you have to say and maybe make you feel bad so that you want to invest in. A lot of the things that I was learning, as soon as I learned about this like pain point marketing, it made me feel very uncomfortable because as a spiritual, not as a spiritual person, but as somebody who, is connected to spirit in my own way, I don't want to poke at people's pain points and make them
Right.
feel bad so that they work with me. Like that doesn't feel aligned at all. It feels like a trick. And I mean, I personally have stepped away from most media for that reason, is because I didn't want to be brainwashed anymore. I didn't want to have other people's voices in my head telling me what I should buy or not buy or do or, think or not think. And I had had enough of that. So just I was so excited to kind of, take on this new venture of working with people online and learning about digital marketing. And when I realized that this was some of the tactics that they were using, it really turned me off. I like if somebody wants to work with me, I want them to come from an aligned place of like, yeah, you can help me, not I need you to fix this for me. And I
Right.
really feel like if somebody is going to come and say like I am a guru and I can fix all your problems,
Mhm.
for me that's a big red flag
Right.
because like if I'm speaking to my, potential clients or what have you, I would much sooner say like I can help you learn the tools so that you can do it yourself. I don't want someone to be like I need to work with you for life because I'm not that's not me. Like we have a
Yes.
container and then you move on with your life and you are able to be your own guru because that's at the end of
Yes.
the day you should be empowered for yourself. You shouldn't be leaning on other people. You shouldn't be listening to their voices in your head for life. Like you got to find your own voice, looping it back to the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. I am so excited that you said that because that is one of the things that I'm so drawn to right now is
Mhm.
helping people find that inside themselves so that they can raise their own vibration anytime, anywhere. Like, you can be in
Mhm.
the supermarket and you can just shift yourself in
Mhm.
the moment, standing in the freaking line to wait for to pay for your stuff. You know what I mean? You can do it anywhere. And it just excites me so much that there are people like you out there that have that same mindset. I don't want your money for life. You keep
Yeah.
your money. Let's do the initial thing and let me help you learn how to do this. And then you go do it. And then you teach someone else. That's how the ripple keeps going out and out and out. Getting stuck in a loop of, I love that word, getting stuck in a loop of just being on this kind of hamster wheel of help me, help me, help me. We don't
Mhm.
have to do that. There's a whole
We
new,
really don't.
different way of doing it. And you get to be your
Yes.
own guru. And that's such a fun thing to even think about?
Definitely, definitely. And I see this a lot in the Facebook group space of like people suffering with BPD is, oh, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And it's like, guys, like you hold the power. And I really try to speak to people in this way is like you don't need to lean on all these other people that you don't even know or your doctor. I'm not saying like don't listen to your doctor. I don't mean it like that because I don't know anyone specific story. But if you're trusting a doctor who you just met for 5 minutes over your own lived life experience,
Mhm.
that's for me, that's problematic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's controversial, but I really think that you should take some time and ask yourself some questions. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I think it's so important to just try and at least start trying to find that voice. And you know not everybody can do it on their own. It takes a lot of trial and error if you're on your own. So in
Mhm.
that sense, yeah, maybe you should get some help from someone, but that person shouldn't be your only help. They should be teaching you how to help yourself.
Yeah. I agree 100% because at the end of the day, the shift is internal, right? The
Yes.
shift is internal. It is not external. So it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. All the spaghetti is
Yes.
just sticking to the outside of the wall. It's not getting in there and doing anything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it comes from in here. We've got to take these ideas that we're learning about and actually put them into practice. And that's where the shifts come. And then they start really changing things in our lives. And it's fucking
Definitely.
amazing. Like it's amazing to me. And I get so excited about it. I really do.
Yes. I listened to something very interesting today, and I'm probably gonna like butcher it, and I'm gonna paraphrase it all wrong, but whatever, I'm here for it. It basically the I can't even remember his name. This guy, I'll share it with you, and then you can share it in the show notes if you wish. This guy was basically saying, the age of doing is over. You can't always be doing and going and going and going, because now it's actually time for God or the universe or whoever you want to call it. It's the time to step into that of the trust of the divine. And that is going to bring you to the next level. As soon as you let go of this, like, I gotta do this, I gotta hustle, I do this, life is going to start working in your favor. But when you're in these old ways, this old paradigm, that it's not, it's just, it's done. Like this, we all have to learn this, that old way where you're stressing out and you're like, oh, what am I gonna do? It's not working anymore. It's not the 80s anymore where people are just like doing their thing. Like it's
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And I just found it so like right on, like just it was so inspiring, and I just loved it.
That's amazing. And yeah, definitely share that with me and I'll put it in the description box. And it's so interesting you brought that up because I just this morning read a post by a girl on Substack that said she had a picture of herself on her back, but what was like her legs and her cup of coffee in her hand, and then the porch and like some trees and stuff. And she goes, I don't feel like I have time to listen to the birds this morning, which is exactly why I'm doing it. I was like,
Yes.
yes, yes, give yourself that time. You do have the time,
Yeah.
but we constantly feel like you said earlier, we have to be striving and doing and clamoring for all the time. And we don't if we just take that time to listen to the birds and drink our coffee. I mean, how
Mhm.
long does it take you to drink a cup of coffee? Just go outside and sit and listen to the birds and allow yourself to soak that in.
Hmm.
You get to
Because that's
have
when the
those five
voice.
minutes.
Yes, exactly. Well, and when you take that time, that is actually the time that you're going to be able to hear your own voice, or that you're going to be able to connect with the divine or God or whoever you want to call it. Um, because it's not going to come through when you're right in the middle of work. Like if you're, mindlessly working on something, or you're engrossed in a task, that's not going to be the time that it's going to come through. So allowing that time is important. Like like you said, she felt that it was the time to do it because she didn't feel like she could do it. And I feel like we could all really take that information to heart and apply it to our lives, no matter where in the world we are.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nature everywhere. I mean, even if
Yes.
it's just, I mean, if you're in a city, you see a tree, somewhere there's a tree. Sit and look at that tree because it's a representation of the abundance of nature. And there's going to be birds in there, and maybe some
Mhm.
bugs for you to watch, which I'm fascinated with. Not everybody likes bugs, but I'm not, I'm a critter person. I like all of the things. So, just allow yourself to connect and see the abundance because even in one tree, the amount of leaves, and I know I probably sound like a complete dork cheesehead to some people, and that's fine. I will own that till the cows come home. But even if you look at the leaves, how many leaves on the
Mhm.
tree? You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
abundance of just that one thing right in front
Mhm.
of you. I mean, it's representational of all the abundance in this world.
So true. And, in this same video, he said, put down your phone. That is not the real world. And we've been kind of like slowly conditioned over time that we're able to access the real world here, but it doesn't matter how much you project real world, it's not. So not saying like throw it away forever, but put it down once in a while and look around, because the real world is out here.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. I mean, it really is beautiful. And
Yes.
that's another thing, like going back to teaching people how to have these tools is to
Yes.
one of the things I find really impactful, and you can share whether this is the same with you, but I feel like it is teaching people how to see the beauty in the everyday, what we've been taught is mundane, because
Yes.
I feel like that is a big part of keeping your vibration high, is being able to see the beauty in things like doing the dishes or washing the laundry or anything like that that we consider to be these like just cumbersome tasks that we have to do.
Yes, I completely agree because, whether we like it or not, those, mundane tasks or whatever, that's actually what makes up our day. Like we're not having all these giant, profound experiences every day where, we're like, oh my gosh, I did all this crazy stuff. I mean, let's be real, most of us are having regular lives, so to speak. So yeah, we do. It's very important to do this because yeah, it's just that's life.
It is. I remember a conversation I had with a lady at this little smoothie shop a couple years ago. And she said that she had to go home and do laundry. I have so much laundry to do. I have to go home. I go, oh no, you get to do laundry. And she looked at me. I said,
Hmm.
we have to be grateful for all the things. And she looked at me like I just grew another head and was like, there is no way I'm going to say I get to do laundry. And,
Hmm.
it's just like what we were talking about earlier, how not everyone is going to be receptive to the information and just that one little
Yes,
shift. But there's something very profound in looking at it that way, that we get to do it, that we
definitely.
have the running water. Because
Definitely.
listen, we didn't have running water for 3 months. 3 months in this house, like just recently, and
Hmm.
having to haul water in buckets and heat it up on the stove, and like either go to a neighbor's house to shower, or doing, washing your hair in the sink by pouring water over your own head out of a container. I mean, it was interesting. So, having the running water, being able to physically do it, you know, and it's there's a lot of gratitude that can go into that, just that one little act.
Well, that's exactly right. And our attitude determines our reality. So, like, gratitude is, I mean, it's from what I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a very high vibrational state of being. So, yeah, just being grateful for everything because you could have nothing. Like,
Yeah.
and I witnessed this firsthand while I was traveling. I mean, I've traveled uh, on and off since 2016. But I saw people living in shacks with like a tarp and some poles, and that's about it, And I mean, for me, I would have been like, oh my God, like, look at this place. And I was like, ugh. But they weren't like, look at my house, it's terrible. They were just living their life and like big smiles on their face. And I mean, I didn't converse with them and like ask them like, hey, how's your life going? But just the joy on their face to me was so shocking from a Western perspective.
Right.
At the time, I was like, but if they're joyful with a tarp and some poles, and then there's people, in Canada who have everything compared to these people, and they're absolutely miserable, who's actually winning in this life?
Right. Yeah, it's about mindset. Mindset is huge. And you can have everything and be miserable. I just listened to, I don't know if you know who Lewis Howes is, but I listened to him tell, oh, you'll have to check him out. But
Yes.
I listened to him tell a story about someone that he knew that was a bill, or someone told him that he was in this like really sought after building and in this one prestigious neighborhood, and he heard a story about a billionaire who had jumped.
Mm. Oh my
And
gosh.
like, a billionaire you would think had everything, right? But it's about mindset. It's about what's going on internally. And that's what we talked about earlier, how important it is, that internal shift. Because
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how much you have or don't have on the outside of yourself. If you are not fully present and living a rich life on the inside, then it, it's all the difference in the world.
Definitely, definitely. And I actually made a I wrote a fairly long I don't know what to call it, a blog, a post, a dissertation. I don't know. Anyways, I wrote something and it was just talking about how it's very common in Western media, and I mean all media, but I can only speak for the West because that's where I'm from. That it can induce splitting in people with borderline personality disorder, which is like very black and white thinking. So like somebody's all good or they're all bad, and there's never a gray area. This is a problem because there's always a gray area
Yes.
in life. There's always a gray area, and the always or never. Um, so, anyways, I shared this thing that I wrote to a few borderline groups on Facebook, and I just said, like, what do you guys think? I would love your opinion on it. And one person just they got caught up in the details at the beginning because I mentioned one of their idols, like their music idols, and they it was just so lost on them because they just got caught in this little detail and they couldn't see the bigger picture of I was saying, pay attention to what you're intaking, like what you're taking in. That was my whole point, is just pay attention to what you're watching, listening to, listen to the words of the music that you're listening to, and like make sure that it's like for your benefit and not programming your mind to be like extremely problematic.
Right.
And I mean, I don't argue with people online. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, thanks for sharing your opinion. But I guess I'm like a little bit removed from the West, but she was just so upset about how like I had insulted her favorite musician that she just couldn't like fathom reading more, like, and I was
Right.
like, all right, girl, like, have a nice
Yeah.
day, like, but it was, yeah, it was just kind of surprising for me. So I think it's important to not get lost in the details as well. Like, people are going to say things that you may or may not agree with, and it doesn't mean that we have to be rude or, whatever. And, the person that you said, like, you said to her, like, you get to do laundry, like, some people might get like their back all up, like, how dare you, like, but
Yeah. Oh, she
sometimes people
thought I
say
was
stuff.
crazy. That girl was crazy. She gets excited about laundry. And I can't say that I'm excited about it per se, but I don't mind it. Like it's not a
Mm,
cumbersome task to me. It used to be when I was younger, like
mm,
I had kids at home and, a husband and it piled up and I was the only one who even cared that there was laundry to do, even though I was working full time too, you know. And so I didn't have that great relationship when I was younger, but as I've grown older and learned about the things now, there's no task that bothers me anymore. I don't mind
yeah.
doing any of it anymore. I'm grateful that I have the ability to do it and I can see it and hear
Hmm.
it and touch it and all of the things. I mean, I'm so grateful for it, and
Hmm.
it's a completely different shift. And I get that. And it's going to take some mindfulness for some people to get there. And some people just won't. They're going to be like, I hate laundry for the rest of their life. And, if that's your path, then more power to you. I'm just not going to be mad about laundry anymore.
It's really not worth it at the end of the day. Yeah, it's interesting as well. Like something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the idea of soul contracts, which, may be a little bit, I don't want to say controversial, but it might be a little bit like, well, what can you do? But it's the idea that everybody has come and chosen their path in this life, and that at the end of the day, you can support them, but you can't really force them into a certain way, or you can't help them into something that they are supposed to be experiencing. Because I mean, like real talk, I'm in Cambodia and there's some stuff going on here that is not okay, just like the rest of the world. I'm not saying like Cambodia is bad and everybody else, like every
Right.
country has its problems, but there's things that for my Western lens is completely unacceptable. Um, and at the end of the day, like, what can I really do but just be a good person, live my life the way I think I should, with kindness and treating people, with respect and dignity and living by the golden rule and so on and so forth. And just accepting that as this is what I came here to do, and this is what they came here to do, and just loving them for that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it is, we all have our own path, and it's going to play out. And it's interesting that you did bring up soul contracts, because I find that concept very interesting. And there's like 90% of myself that is like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And there's like 10% of myself that is like, wait, what? You know, I mean, just like almost fully on board, but not 100%. You know what I mean? Because I feel
Yeah.
like there's like, I mean, at the end of the day, do any of us really truly know? I mean, do we? Because we don't remember all of the things that our soul knows. We don't, as humans.
Yes.
We get to have, some of us who are extremely blessed get to have a lot of it, you know, that
Hmm.
memory and being able to access those parts, that part of ourselves that is innately limitless and powerful. And then there's a lot of us that aren't able to access much of it at all. And then even the ones that are able to access so much of it, we still aren't able to access all of it clearly, or we wouldn't
Yes.
still be earthbound. It's very interesting.
I think so too. And yeah, it's a bit comforting. Like I'm using it more as like a comfort. Like, why does all this terrible stuff happen to some people? And I'm like, well, like soul contract, like, because sometimes, things happen to good people or what it
Yeah.
like I think all people are good. I mean, that's my own thing, but um I'm using it more as like a comforting thing. And I mean, I wouldn't say I'm 100 there either. Like I don't know what the percentage is. I'm like, like we never fully know, and just being more open and curious than anything about like, well, this is what I think,
Yeah.
but maybe something will change. I'll be like, actually, no. Who knows?
Yeah. There's just the part of me that is like, why? Like, why would you make the
Mm,
choice to come back and do that
yeah.
particular thing, go through that particular situation? Like,
Mm, hmm.
why would you do that? But that again, that's from a human perspective that has that judgment around it, that, you know, that inability to fully understand from just a neutral place. You know, is it
Hmm.
good? Is it bad? Or is it just a thing? You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's it's to me one of the biggest human challenges is to be in that 100% neutrality. And I had a conversation recently with another lady who said, she named a particular person, I can't remember who it was now, but that they're like always in this zen state, like just completely zen all the time. And I'm like, as a human being, you know what I mean? In my
Mm,
mind, I'm thinking,
hmm.
as a human being, and I actually said, I don't know that that's humanly possible. I
Right.
mean, it sounds
Yeah.
great. I've been a human for some lifetimes, and I've been a human in this lifetime for almost 56 years. And I get in those Zen states sometimes where it's just like everything feels good. I look at everything through that beautiful lens of being able to see it all clearly. You know, I do not stay there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love to stay there, but then something happens and I'm like, ah, and I'm really mad about it, or I'm really sad or whatever, and it doesn't feel neutral anymore. It feels
Hmm.
heavy or hard, and I have to deal with those human emotions. So I don't know that I feel personally like just this beautiful Zen state throughout your human life. Man, I just don't know.
Yeah. I'm right there with you because I like in my opinion for that, I think that those things come up to kind of test you like where are you at with this issue that you've had to deal with probably multiple times in your
Right,
lifetime. Um and also healing is not linear, right? So
right.
it's like I mean, yeah, I don't know the person or the situation, but it doesn't sound like a humanly quality to always be zen because we have emotions, and to
Yeah,
not have emotions is not really natural.
right, right.
Ooh, I
Exactly.
don't
That's why
know.
I'm like, I don't know that that's humanly possible. I mean, I feel like there are some of us who are able to get there more often, and we're able
Yes.
to be in a more mindful state when we're interacting with people, even if they're being inflammatory. And I feel like I do much, much better with that now than I ever used to. I even get asked about it periodically. How do you do that? you know, but trust me when I say, when I'm by myself, things come up that I have to deal with. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not one of those people who's going to project what's going on inside of me onto you. I'll be quiet and I'll stay like back, kind of
Hmm.
in the background and limit my interactions when I know I'm in a space where I'm not as good with everything, because we have to still have those interactions when we're not in the greatest headspace sometimes. But when I'm at home, like sometimes like I get mad and I'll like scream because I'm at home by myself and I'll just be like, I'm so mad. You know what I mean? Or I'll cry or like just take a nap or whatever because I just can't deal with it anymore. But
Hmm.
that's human. Like, and I
Yeah.
feel like, like you said earlier about things being really packaged to where it's all love and light. And I'm all about love and light. Trust me when I say I'm
Yeah.
all about love and light. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's my frame of mind all the time. It's not
Yeah.
anybody's frame of mind all the time. And I feel like we need to meet people where they are in that so that we can teach them that no matter how well known we are, no matter how long we've been doing this, we still have those hard days. We still have to check ourselves sometimes, you know?
Hmm. Definitely. Well, and yeah, I think coming back to just a minute ago, it's being human and just showing your humanness. And I think there is maybe a little bit of I don't want to say a lack of showing humanness in the spirituality community, but it just, there's kind of like it's known as like the Bali uh influencer that, like just like lives like such a carefree lifestyle and everything's always good all the time and they're by the pool and they're at the temple or whatever, and that's not real life.
Yeah.
Like they don't show the moments where they're like in their house crying or whatever it is, but it's real, and I think that it's important to be honest with people, and maybe you don't need to go showing yourself crying on Instagram. I mean,
I've
not
seen
for me
people do that
personally.
though.
They're going to do what they're going to do. The one thing that I've learned over my time, what other people do is none of my business. I don't,
Right.
cool, enjoy, like I don't want to, I'm not inflammatory. I don't want to argue with people. Sometimes I don't see eye to eye with how people live their life, but again, it's none of my business what other people do. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, like that's again going back to like the soul contract thing as well, is like people are going to live their life how they want to, and whatever is supposed to happen to them is going to happen to them, and I can just stand back and kind of be there if needed, but I'm also not going to attach myself to their problems or their situation at the end of the day because it's not in my best interest.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go back to the beginning where you talked about how you disconnected from everything. If you were talking to someone right now who is asking you, what can I do? Like, what can I do to move myself forward in some kind of healthy way? What are
Mhm.
the, like, say, top three things that you would give them to do?
Yeah, great question. I would say travel if you can, even if it's just to a different county or something, get out of your normal cycle, and just do something different. Not necessarily move away. I mean, you can if you want to, but change the flow of your reality, because change happens when you change, when you get uncomfortable, when you do something that you wouldn't usually do. So that would be the first thing. The second thing I would say is really pay attention to what you're intaking: food, media, people around you. Pay attention to how that makes you feel. Listen, just like really pay attention and listen to what's what's coming in. Listen to your body, listen to your mind, listen to your spirit if you're in touch with it. Be the witness to whatever your intake is. So that's my first two. Let me think of a third one real quick because I'm like, ooh, those are both really good.
They are good.
Honesty hour. Yeah, I like those too. Those are my things. And I would say the third thing is start being honest.
Mhm.
Don't lie for other people's comfort or your own comfort. Just start being real because
Yeah.
that is really going to change a lot of things. And when you start being honest and real with people, the right people are going to come, and the wrong people are just going to fall away. And the right media and the right food, and if you're listening to yourself, and it's like, oh, I honestly don't feel good after eating a whole pizza, like, or something like that. I mean, that's my own experience. So that's like Sam from some time ago. But, if I don't feel good after doing this, okay, well, now I have to be honest. I can't lie and be like, oh, it was something else and everything's fine. Like
Right.
be real with yourself and be real with other people. And like I said, the real ones are going to be like, yeah, thanks for being real. And the wrong ones are going to be like, oh, I don't like that. And it's not a big problem that the wrong people fall out of your life.
Yeah, it's not. It feels kind of painful sometimes, but it actually is very, very good for you. And it creates room. It creates so much
Hmm.
space for the right people to come in, the people that are more aligned with you. And one thing I would like to add personally that I've noticed is that that kind of shifts and flows, right? Because like as your energy changes, those things are going to change too. And then more people are going to fall away and more people are going to come in that are more aligned to where you are energetically in that space of time.
So true. It's so funny you mentioned that. I found out that there's an unread folder on Facebook Messenger. Anybody who's listening that has Facebook Messenger, go find your unread folder because you might be surprised how many messages are in there. And I found someone that I hadn't messaged back in like 6 months or something. And I could have just ignored it, but I was like, you know what? I should probably just be real and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Let me just say sorry and say, like, what's up? Um, and this lady, I started talking to her. I was like, oh my gosh, like, are we like friends from another life? Like, how do I know you? Like, I just felt like I really connected with her right away. And I don't know if I ever told you this, Dee, but I also have a podcast and I invited her to my podcast just because I was like, hey, like, feel like we're, on the same page with a lot of things. And she filled out my intake form and I was like, did I write this? Like, I was so excited, but I was so like, but who are you, and it was just so exciting to like connect with another person who's like energetically on the same wavelength. So yeah, like what you emit is what is going to come back to you for sure.
Yeah, that's what a cool experience. And now y'all get to reconnect. Have y'all recorded yet together?
No, we haven't yet. It's supposed to be, I think, in a couple of weeks, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, that's awesome. You'll have to send me your link to your podcast. I'll put that in there too in the description
Yes.
box so that people can
And
connect with you there.
yeah, and I would love to have you on my podcast too, Dee. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after. That'd be great. Cool.
Yeah.
So, Sam, let's
Yeah.
tell everyone where they can find you if they would love to work with you and learn some of these amazing concepts for themselves so that they can become their own strong person and not have to depend on other people for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. So, for those of you who are struggling with borderline personality disorder, I specifically work with those people, and my handle is BPD2Bliss. Handle, is that a thing? Username BPD2Bliss. And then for everyone else who's just looking for some guidance, you can find me at Flowering into 5D on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok as well. And I have a detoxification guide for people who are interested in human design. And I also offer, I call them 5D alignment activations, where I take a deep dive into someone's human design body graph and take it not just as a reading, but more as like almost like a therapy session, like a let's help you get those tools like we talked about to get you to where you want to be in this life. So that's where you can find me.
Nice. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Well, I
Yeah.
will put all of that information in the description box so people can find you with a click. Do you have any
Yes.
last words of wisdom before we close out today?
Oh, geez. I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm so grateful for this experience and just to be able to connect with you. And yeah, I mean, just come into this life with gratitude, because it's going to get you so much further than any other state of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Gratitude is amazing. Absolutely. Well, thank you again,
Yes.
Sam, for coming on with me today. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom and your experiences.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much again for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Yes, you're very welcome. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of Spiritually Speaking. I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I love you all.